Before we close, you've listened to thousands of life stories over the years. Could you share your three biggest life lessons you've learned from these stories that you want our audience to take away?
Yeah, that's a very big question because there are so many. But here I'll try to distill what I think are probably the most important three for us all to remember. I mean, I've been lucky enough to spend my life sitting in people's lounge rooms and on their back verandas and perched on their kitchen stools, telling me their life stories and their opinions about every imaginable subject. But I'd say these three. Number one, everyone's story is interesting. I've never interviewed a person in my professional role as a researcher or had a conversation with a person just socially where I didn't learn something interesting about them. People say, the unkindest thing people ever say, oh, he's so boring. Well, sorry, go and listen a bit more attentively. He's not boring. Everyone's story is interesting. And that's partly because, as we said earlier, everyone walks with shadows. Everyone's had problems. Everyone has had to deal with tragedies and setbacks and disappointments and so on. That makes us interesting. We're all more complicated than we look. And I think we need to remember that everyone's story is interesting, and that's a good enough reason to listen to them when they have something to say. Second thing I'd say is that in my experience, almost everyone means well. There are such things as bad apples. There are people who've been badly damaged by their early childhood experiences or by some trauma in their lives that's wounded them and they haven't recovered and they need healing to get back to the person they really are at their core. But for most of us who are not traumatized in that way and not wounded, we do mean well. People are trying to be good partners, good parents, good neighbours, good employees, good citizens, good employers. And I think that's a wonderful thing to notice about our species, that basically we are kindly disposed towards each other and we are motivated to make the world a better place. That's an almost universal human experience. When people approach the end of their lives, when they look back, they never say, I wish I'd been busier, I wish I'd made more money or any of that stuff. But if they're questioning reflectively their lives, they will say, was I kind enough? Did I do well enough? Not commercially, did I do well enough as a loving person, as a partner or as a parent or as a neighbour or a friend? So I think that's an indication that deep within us, we are all trying to do our best, and I find that quite moving. The other thing I'd say, which is so obvious you may think it's hardly worth saying, but our example is hugely influential. Whether we're talking about our example to our children or our grandchildren, or our example to each other in the workplace, in the family, in the neighbourhood, wherever, when we behave kindly, it is much more likely that people who are influenced by that kindness will themselves behave kindly. I don't mean towards me. I'm not acting kindly towards you in the hope that you'll repay me with some kindness. That'd be hopeless. That's not kindness, that's self-interest. But if we act kindly towards someone, it is more likely that they will pass it on. This idea that kindness multiplies is something that I've really observed through my life. And I think it's a sobering reminder that when we behave well, that has a huge influence on the people around us. And of course, the converse is true. When we behave badly, our kids learn how to behave badly. Yeah. Even in the midst of a marriage, I was talking to someone yesterday, in the midst of a marriage breakup, is it possible to act kindly towards a partner that you're absolutely loggerheads with? Well, if there are kids there, remember the kids. The kids are learning from how you respond to that difficult situation. They're learning about how humans deal with difficult situations. And if they see bad behavior, that's the model that they'll follow. So example is everything. Example is the great teacher, and we're doing it unconsciously all the time.